Postman. I saw it back in Pine View. You've given us all back what we'd forgotten.
Kevin Costner tries to restore hope in post-nuclear America in The Postman, one of 6 big new holiday films we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Kevin Costner seems to be obsessed with stories where he plays a loner who wanders across a desolate landscape, meeting hostile communities and illuminating their grim lives with his character's heroic vision. He did that formula once as tragedy in Dances with Wolves, then he did it as adventure in Waterworld, and now he does it as farce in The Postman, which plays almost like a satire on the first 2 films. The movie opens in the year 2013, after nuclear wars reduced the American population to a few scattered outposts. Costner puts on the uniform and mailbag of a dead postal carrier and tries to bluff his way into one of the fortified towns by pretending to be there to deliver the mail.
Understand that tampering with the mail or obstructing the mail is a federal offense, and furthermore, the Bolin Act requires that you provide all mail carriers with sanctuary and food.
You got 3 seconds. Get your ass out of here.
Costner tells the residents the U.S. government has been reestablished along with the Postal Service. They're ready to grasp at any straw, and soon he has followers who will risk their lives to deliver the mail.
The mailman's more important than the mail.
Boy, he's smart.
The region is controlled by a fascist military dictatorship led by General Bethlehem, played by Will Patton. He rides roughshod over everyone and senses immediately that the postman is his enemy.
I want all mail carriers hunted down. I want the postman found. I want him dealt with.
Olivia Williams plays a young woman who wants the postman to father her child, since disease has made her husband sterile.
Have you decided yet?
The movie plays like an apocalyptic Western.
He's rendering?
God, I hope not.
The Postman is based on an award-winning science fiction novel which has some challenging ideas, but they're stretched way too thin by Costner, whose film looks good and has some effective individual scenes, but also gets a lot of bad laughs with its overdone nobility and repetitious symbolism. In the last scene, a grateful populace unveils a huge bronze statue of the Postman, but they're a little late. He feels sort of cast in bronze all through the picture.
Well, cast in bronze is a real good line because this picture is totally stiff. It's a candidate in my list of the year's worst pictures, and I call this picture derisively Dances with Myself. It's so noble and so self-serving. I mean, it's almost like Woody Allen having the cast applaud himself at the end of Deconstructing Harry. Here he has people stand by his statue. I mean, it's just really lame motion picture.
Yeah, I was really discouraged as I watched it because it goes on and on and on and on, and you can see that it has a little nugget of an idea, about half an hour of idea stretched out to about 6 times that length.
Just embarrassing, frankly, embarrassing. Okay, next movie, and our next film is Mr. Magoo, which is even more worthless than The Postman. Boy, what a criticism that is. Its only saving grace comparatively is that it's only half as long as The Postman. Thank you. Leslie Nielsen from the Naked Gun series and presumably Hollywood's bozo du jour is cast in a brain-dead live-action treatment of the classic cartoon series about the vision-impaired Magoo. Here's the running, walking joke in the film. Mr. Magoo, despite being woefully nearsighted, miraculously avoids killing himself.
Well, an escalator to the top. How swank. Must be a yacht club.
Here's another example. The movie is wall-to-wall with them as Magoo goes skiing on an ironing board, pursued by secret agents who mistakenly think he's stolen the world's most valuable ruby.
The women's watercraft final is about to begin. Ready, set, go!
Get back here, you Jezebel!
Have you seen enough? Well, multiply the experience of seeing those two scenes by about 20, and you get your eyeful rather quickly with Mr. Magoo. Utterly uninspired, it makes the recent remake of Flubber seem as original as Some Like It Hot.
You know, the original Mr. Magoo cartoons were not my favorites. Yeah. They had one joke.
Exactly.
He mistook something for something else.
Exactly.
This goes on for an hour and a half,
right,
and it's deadly. And then at the end, we get that unbelievable, politically correct apology to the nearsighted. Look, I'm as nearsighted as they come. I'm like 2,500, right? And I never was offended by Mr. Magoo. He's a nearsighted guy. He does the best he can. They go on, well, people who are nearsighted should have an opportunity in the workplace. It's like a big wet blanket thrown on top of the film, which was a wet blanket to begin with.
I had more entertainment value laughing derisively at
the apology
than the jokes in the picture.
Yeah.
Okay, coming up later in the show, we review An American Werewolf in Paris. And coming up next, Quentin Tarantino's new film, Jackie Brown, with Pam Grier in the title role.
If you had the chance to walk off with a $500,000, would you take it?
Yeah.
The way I see it, you and me got one thing to talk about. One thing. And that's what you are willing to do for me.
Pam Grier plays a flight attendant who was arrested while trying to smuggle cash into the United States for Samuel L. Jackson's character, an illegal gun merchant, in that scene from Jackie Brown, the long-awaited new film by Quentin Tarantino. It's been 3.5 years since Tarantino's Pulp Fiction landed as the most influential movie of its time, and now Tarantino is back again with a picture built on colorful, low-life characters and a lot of high-quality dialogue. Grier's character, named Jackie Brown, knows Jackson plans to kill her before she can cooperate with the police, but she is way ahead of him there.
Now let's say, if I tell on you, I walk. If I don't, I'll go to jail. I want $100,000 in an escrow account in my name if I'm convicted up to a year or put on probation. Now, if I have to do more than a year, you pay another $100,000.
I can do that.
Another key character in the movie is a bail bondsman played in a wonderful performance by Robert Forster, who combines understated professionalism with all the weariness of a man who has spent too long doing a job that discourages him.
Possession of unregistered machine guns.
Damn. Now, they gonna consider that a violation of his probation?
Michael Keaton and Michael Bowen play a federal agent and a local cop who are on Jackie Brown's trail. She sees through them, too, and sets them up as part of her complicated scam, which is designed to save her life and steal the money.
You ever seen him sell a gun?
No.
How do you know he sells guns?
He told me. Besides, why else would an ATF man be after it?
The film is rich with sharply observed characters, including the gunrunner's girlfriend, played by Bridget Fonda, and his ex-con buddy, played by Robert De Niro.
Here we go. AK-47, the very best there is. When you absolutely, positively got to kill every mother in the room, except no substitutes.
Nothing gets between me and my AK.
Hello, it's for you.
And Tarantino's dialogue there certainly owes more than a little to the novelist Elmore Leonard, whose rum punch inspired this movie. Jackie Brown shows Tarantino at his best, savoring the words and little details of behavior that make his characters so individual and original and memorable. The movie involves a complicated double cross by Jackie Brown, but it's also about her sweet and understated relationship with the bail bondsman. And in its own quiet way, the chemistry between Pam Grier and Robert Forster is the heart of the movie. Instead of hurtling toward a routine ending like a lot of caper films, Jackie Brown is about the process, not the payoff. This is a film that's too good to be in a hurry.
Well, the dialogue is what's so distinctive about Tarantino's work. Frankly, if I had a script, I'd let him take a pass at it. Almost any script, except maybe you know, some 19th century English drama or something. He's that good of a writer.
Yes, he is.
He's listened wherever he's been in the world. He's listened very, very well. I also like the fact, you know, when Pam Grier was announced for this project, everyone thought, well, this is going to be his riff on blaxploitation movies. And I suppose with the theme song across 110th Street and all that, there is some of that, but it's a whole lot more than that. It is a sweet love story, as it turns out. And he's just a darn good writer. I'm so pleased to hear what comes out of the character's mouth.
And Pam Grier does not play an exploitation character. She plays a tired airline stewardess in her 40s who was about to lose probably the last job that she can get and is very desperate and is very smart and is thinking very hard. It's a real good performance because Pam Grier actually is much more glamorous in real life than she is in this movie, and more energetic too. It's a performance.
Yeah, but in her opening scene, I mean, he's paying a little bit tribute, moving along a conveyor belt at the airport with that great soundtrack coming along. Coming up next, one of the most popular horror films of the 80s is updated with a sequel, An American Werewolf in Paris, when we come back.
No, don't!
Andy, what are you doing? I'll show you guys a stunt you'll never top.
Andy, this is madness. You're going to get yourself killed.
Those American college students in France are going to bite off more than they can chew in the new thriller An American Werewolf in Paris, the sequel to John Landis's big hit An American Werewolf in London 16 years ago. The new movie is utterly predictable, however. They're just selling a title here as three buddies look on in horror when a pretty young French student attempts suicide from atop the Eiffel Tower.
No, 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 no. Please, let me help you. Okay.
That's Julie Delpy, and Tom Everett Scott plays the character who winds up romancing her.
No one can help me, and anyone who tries is.
Of course, the reason you go to a werewolf movie is to see werewolves. And here they are, animated, and I thought obviously so, which destroyed any real excitement. That's bad, obvious computer animation. It doesn't work at all. Boring the picture is because of that. No thrills, a complete waste of time. An American Werewolf in Paris.
I am with you on this one, Gene. It was a real dead zone as far as motion pictures are concerned, and there isn't even kind of a simplistic plot to draw us through. There were obviously, for example, the Julie Delpy character is supposed to be the child of the characters in the original film, but that's a throwaway, and so is the whole movie as far as I'm concerned.
You saw the same thing, Roger. It's blatantly obvious.
It's not well done. It's
no,
not well done.
Not even on a technical basis they can't get it right.
When we come back, Nick Nolte and Julie Christie are a couple on the rocks in Afterglow.
So, what is your husband doing right now?
Same thing as your wife.
Our next movie is Afterglow, starring Julie Christie, whose recent screen appearances have been very few and far between. But this is one of the roles of a lifetime. Put this one up there beside Pam Grier as Jackie Brown. Christie plays a middle-aged former B-movie actress who has abandoned Hollywood and who inhabits a loveless marriage with a contractor named Lucky, played by Nick Nolte. They know each other very well, maybe almost too well.
Well, if you don't like the way things are, Phil, you can change it. I mean, it's house rules. You set them.
I wasn't complaining. Please don't think I was complaining. I don't. I just sometimes feel a little pang when you're out prowling the Ritz. But hey, what you and your little kittens do in the privacy of their own basket is none of my business.
On a job, Lucky meets a housewife who wants only one thing from love, to be pregnant. She's played by Laura Flynn Boyle.
You know, I was just on the phone with a friend of mine, and well, she was saying how hard it is to... Would you like something to drink, Lucky?
Later, sure.
Well, that's what she was saying, how hard it is to meet people and just have a drink, no strings attached.
The Christie character discovers her husband and the other woman in a bar and watches secretly.
Does he want another drink?
No, thank you.
Make that a double.
You want to go then? See, I forgot to bring my tools down from the apartment. Now remember this. Rule number 1. Always bring your tools home.
And the deeper irony there is that Christie is in that bar to meet a man and doesn't know the man is the husband of the woman her husband is fooling around with. So the couples trade partners without knowing it, and the film is about how the new arrangement may be even more unsatisfactory than the old one. Afterglow is one of those bittersweet offbeat films that depends for its force on the strength of the performances. It has 4 good ones, but Julie Christie brings a special poignancy to the role of an actress who wonders sometimes why she was ever in the movies in the first place.
Roger, I like the these are some of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
And one who doesn't get enough praise, I think, is Lara Flynn Boyle. I picks good projects. I just didn't care for this picture, really. It seemed to me the switching, that did seem predictable to me. The payoff, as you mentioned, is a little bit different. I haven't liked an Alan Rudolph film, the director here, in a long, long time. I just felt this was so precious and forced in a way. I almost would have rather seen one couple. I know the story is 2 couples. I would have almost followed. It's just...
You know, I like Alan Rudolph because it seems to me that his films are alive, that you can't really tell what twists and turns they're going to take, and there are little quirky touches. It's not just kind of broad melodramatic storytelling.
It isn't, but quirky is the right word for it, and it's too many quirks. Everybody has a quirk in his pictures in the last decade, and I'm tired of it.
Coming up next, right in time for the holiday vacation, a family film called The Education of Little Tree.
The Century Plaza, offering the finest in luxury service in Southern California style, adjacent to Beverly Hills on LA's fashionable West Side. The Century Plaza Hotel and Tower, a Westin hotel.
Our next film, The Education of Little Tree, caught me totally by surprise with its fascinating story of an 8-year-old boy whose parents died during the Great Depression. He is then sent to live with his grandparents, his grandmother is Cherokee, in the beautiful, strikingly beautiful backwoods of East Tennessee.
There's all kinds of dying, Little Tree. I've seen people down Settlement walking around like you or me, but they just as good as dead. Because they spent their lives in meanness and greed. And the spirit inside of them went and shrunk down to no more than the size of a pea. Because the only way to make your spirit big is to work on it.
The cast includes Joseph Ashton as the boy and the marvelous actor James Cromwell, the Oscar-nominated farmer in Babe, as his grandfather.
Just kind of let her fall.
See now, that there mall has got enough weight on top of her, split that pine just like a...
Adapted and directed by Richard Friedenberg, The Education of Little Tree really honors its setting and Indian customs.
Little Tree, this here's Willow John. He has the magic.
Now, earlier this year, Roger and I were surprised by another children's film, Shiloh, about a boy and a dog. The Education of Little Tree is another rare children's story that is smart enough to be appreciated, I think, by anyone of any age.
I agree with you, Gene. This is a superior, intelligent, touching, sensitive, thought-provoking family film.
Good for you. I mean,
I just hope families support it, because we always hear there aren't enough family films. And then when we find something like The Education of Little Tree or Shiloh, we're so discouraged that it doesn't do business. I imagine a lot of kids are probably going to want to see Mr. Magoo, which would be a complete waste of their time.
You got it. That's what's wrong with our culture is that Mr. Magoo will outgross The Education of Little Tree 10 to 1, 20 to 1, 30 to 1. That's the picture to see if your children want to go to the movies. Now let's recap the films we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs down for the embarrassing, truly embarrassing Kevin Costner film, The Postman. What an ego trip. 2 more thumbs down, way down, for the utterly unfunny Mr. Magoo with Leslie Nielsen. 2 thumbs up for the most entertaining Jackie Brown, featuring Quentin Tarantino's uncommonly good dialogue, as well as Pam Grier. 2 thumbs down for An American Werewolf in Paris, a would-be comic thriller that has no bite. We split on Afterglow, that we both admire the performance by Julie Christie. And finally, 2 thumbs up, way up, for The Education of Little Tree, the discovery in the show.
Little Tree and Jackie Brown.
You got it.
Yeah.
Remember, you can hear our reviews of recent movies on the web at Siskel-Ebert.com. Next week, we'll be back with our special Best of 97 program, where Roger and I share and debate our separate lists of the year's top 10 films. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Here's a Christmas gift for your VCR. The brand new 1998 edition of Roger Ebert's Video Companion. Over 1,500 full-length reviews.